So now covering in detail about page views, visits, and page events. So page views, as I told, like every time you are loading a page, that is counted as a page view. Some people might work on a single page application where all the content is there on a single page itself. It's not like every time the URL is changing. So in such cases, there is something called as view change. Okay. So you might decide to have every, like if your website is divided into three different parts, when you're scrolling from one part to another, the URL is not changing in case of single page. So in that case also, we can implement page view calls for every part we decide that this is a new view for me. So again, it depends on the client how they want, they want to call it as a page view. Do they want every tab that is there on the website to be a new page view? Then you have to do the implementation according to that. So I'll tell you how to implement that. The implementation is a bit different for SPS compared to normal website for page views. Total page views will be can be equal to the number of unique visitor or visit or higher. It can never be less. And also reloads are counted. Now there are two things in implementation. In launch, there are two kind of functions that we create called s.t, s.tl. So anything with s.t call is a page view, s.tl is link tracking. Don't get confused. It's very detailed. Currently, we are just learning about the metrics. Later on, as I cover more and more topics, you will get to know how to do this. What is T? What is TL? But this is at a high level. If someone is talking about s.t, they're talking about page views. If they're talking about s.tl, they are talking about some link tracking. So there are only two things. Either you track something as a view, either you track something as an interaction, also called as link tracking. So page views versus visit, as I told, one visit can contain more than one pages, more than one page views, or also equal. So both things can be either equal or page views can be greater than visits. Then we also have page views versus page events. So page events is all the link tracking calls. So all the interactions, the clicks that the user is doing goes under link tracking, and page views is the load of the page when the page is loading. So page views doesn't includes link clicks. Unique visitor is based on,
Mega,
yeah,
I do have one question here.
yeah, yeah.
So, like while tracking the page views and the events,
Hmm.
so can we track both of them together, right? Like let's say in a page we have different kind of products or any event action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a new page, page load.
Hmm.
So it's better to track everything separately, or we can track everything on one page call itself by calling out some few events. Uh,
Yeah,
I
got
hope
it.
my question is clear, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's clear. So see, this can be done in two ways. So either you track all the page views through one rule. Okay. So every time a page is loading, that rule that you create in a tag manager will send all the data to Adobe Analytics for every page. Second thing is the link that you want to track on every new page that is, let's consider a new page. Okay. So on that page, all the links you can track through a separate rule, saying every time a click is happening, send that as a TL call, and it will be tracked as a link tracking call through a custom event. So you can do it in two ways, or you can even create one rule and write all the custom JavaScript there, saying if the page is loading, send this. If the this is happening, send this. So you have to do all that customization. Even like you can't do it within a rule, you'll have to go into an extension and do that. So both the things is possible. Either do it separately or do everything in one thing by writing a custom JavaScript. But what we do is as a best practice, we create one rule for all the views that are there and one rule for all the clicks. So no matter if it's a new or an old page, everything new and old click related will come under one, and everything view related will come under one.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So coming to unique visitors, I told you about the ECID thing, how we identify a visitor. So let me show that again. Go to so this is the place under application cookies where you can see all the cookies that are set on the on your website. So you can see here there is AMCV cookie. Okay. So this is where Adobe stores your ECID. ECID is also called as MCID. So the full form is Marketing Cloud ID or Experience Cloud ID. So both of this stores your ID. So this is the ID 7C325 till 07. This is the ID. And then there are some other information also which Adobe stores, but this is the main thing, the ID 7C3207. And you can try for yourself also when you visit a website which has Adobe Analytics on it and go through two different browser, try it on Chrome and then on Edge, you will see that there are different values. So that will tell you that you are being identified as a different visitor on both the browser. Here your it will say okay, one unique visitor is there on the website. Now, when you come through another browser, it will be two unique visitors against you. So try that on your own also. You'll get to see like how are different unique visitors counted. It's just based on the total number of IDs. Now, the thing is, there can be some website which have logins. Okay, so in that case, you can set the logic of unique visitors to be based on that login ID rather than this MCID. So both ways it's possible, but most of the website go with the default method because it's not like all the content is login specific. So they base the unique visitor logic, which is by default. You don't need to do any customization, which is on the ECID logic. But if it's a fully login accessible site, you can change the logic to be based on the IDs. And then if the user is logging in through the same ID on some other browser as well, then also they'll be considered as the same visitor. So when we'll discuss about implementation, I'll tell you how to write the code as well.
And in case I'm opening the same browser in through the MWeb mobile, so will it
Mhm.
be different visitor or it will be considered same visit only or visitor?
Okay, so you are opening the website in a mobile view on
Yes, yes,
Chrome
the
itself,
same
right?
thing, Robert.
So in that case, you are changing the device completely. So that is also a new cookie value will be assigned for your particular device. So in that case, a new ECID will be generated again. So everything, change in browser, change in device is a new visitor.
Then how come when we see the retargeting happens, right? Remarketing happens when
Mhm.
you leave the website and suddenly when you open your mobile, you start seeing the ads. How come they know that our cookie ID remains the same?
Yeah, so good, really good question. So, um, obviously, your cookie value by default will change. It will be a new ECID. That's the ECID logic. Don't get confused with it. But how they show you the same kind of personalization activity, that's because it will see the audience can be based on different attributes. The possibility is you can append this particular ID to the URL. So even if you are going from one kind of device to another, you can store this information in a UTM parameter or in a query string parameter saying question mark. My dear, I'm just taking an example. It could be any parameter, and then send this complete ID along with that in the href link when the user is going from, say, this link, even so if I'm clicking from this link and going to some other browser, opening it on some other browser, if I try to open it on some other browser also, then also because of the href link having my ECID information, it can be set to same. Okay, that's one thing. Other thing is you are basing the logic based on some other parameter, maybe something user specific. For example, you are storing some anonymous ID for every visitor. For example, on Flipkart or any e-retail site, you have a sign in. Okay, so you always you log in to that particular site and you complete the checkout process. So in that case, you will base it on basis of the login ID. Okay, so in that case, it will remain same even for different browser, or you can base it on basis of a location. Then also it remains same. So you'll see the experience in a similar fashion. So it could be multiple things that can be utilized on the personalization audience logic, but ECID will still be different. You can take it forward through the query string parameter in case of link clicks, but otherwise it will be different.
Uh,
Hi,
Megha. One thing I would like to check, like if we open, like you said, how can we see MCID if we just wanted to check if we click on the Omnibug and go, can we see that MCID there also?
Yeah, let me show me. Let me show you. Mm, So you have the Omnibug extension installed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is your org ID. It should be somewhere here. Yeah, Marketing Cloud Visitor ID. This is the one. So check
Okay.
for this parameter, okay?
Okay. But if I'm not wrong, you have mentioned it should be alphanumeric.
Yeah, it can be alphanumeric. It can be numeric also. Like only these two kind of characters are allowed. You will never see like hyphen, underscore, those
Okay.
kind of
Special
things.
characters are not allowed.
No.
Okay.
And
And
it's
is there
not
any
us setting it, so it's Adobe setting it. So it could be anything.
Okay, or is there any means length of this means character length also like 16 digit, 20 digits, something like that?
So it's cookie size actually, not exactly this length. So the cookie AMCB cookie in which it is stored, that's of 200 bytes.
Okay.
Okay. Because Omnibug is just an extension which is simplifying the things that you are seeing in the cookie, right?
So how you're
Or in the
checking in
network.
this, which is what extension you're using when you're seeing in this the above browser when you show it to us?
So here I'm using Omnibug
No, no,
itself.
the earlier one which were showing in a table.
This one.
Yes.
This is not an extension. This, whenever you just click on inspect on your browser,
Okay.
and when you traverse this, you'll see application, and application you see cookies, and for your website, whatever is the URL, you'll see the list of cookie, and you can filter it by AMCV.
Okay. Thank you.
Magna, I have a question. So for the logged in users, this is anonymous user, right? So
Hmm.
user is not logged in yet. So we'll set a cookie, but after login also we'll maintain the same MCID, or we are going to, I mean, Adobe is going to change the ID.
No, so it's browser specific, and obviously device also, because the browser is a part of a device. So even if you log in, your ECID will remain same.
So then how we will know the anonymous user versus?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Uh,
so for that you need to capture that value in some custom variable. So there's a concept of evars and props which we'll be covering. So that in that evar and prop you will be capturing the status of the user whenever they sign in on the sign in flow completion. We will set that evar to capture authenticated, and whenever they log out, we'll say logged out, and whenever we don't have that information, it will be anonymous.
but we need to handle, right, by writing
Yeah,
extra.
yeah, it's not Adobe who will capture it automatically.
Uh,
So the cookie is not secured. So because the Adobe Analytics is a third party on this site, and that it has to read the cookie and update. That's why the cookie is not secured.
It's third-party cookie, definitely. It's set by Adobe. If you want to have it as a first-party cookie, then you have to come up with your own logic for identifying every visitor, assigning them ID, and then basing your unique visitor logic based on it. If your website is not allowing third-party cookies to be set.
But how can we stop from Web SDK script? I mean, out of the box, Web SDK is trying to set the cookie right. Let's say if
Mm-hmm.
I implemented custom implementation also, can we skip Web SDK setting the cookie and all?
Sorry, you are telling that you don't want the cookie to be set, right? If I'm
No, no, no.
understanding.
My only concern is, let's say my customer doesn't want to be leave this as a insecure cookie. It should be security should be enabled for this cookie to restrict other scripts to get this cookie. Okay, to restrict reading this cookie from other scripts. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned one solution is I need to write custom code to implement the same way that Web SDK is doing. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Create
Yes.
the MCID and set it as secure.
Yeah.
So after implementing that also, I need to include the Web SDK in my site. Am I right?
Yeah, so see, whatever you implement, whether it's Web SDK approach or not, for having the ECID, you need an extension. There's an Experience Cloud ID extension, which when we integrate and do the integration, we need to have that extension. Once we have the extension, then only all these cookies are set. So if you don't want that, then don't include that extension.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, Pavan, we'll have different ECID for Chrome and Incognito also, because in that case also the cookie will change. Anywhere, whenever you have a different cookie, then a value of MCID will be assigned once more.
uh, Megha, I just have a small question. But
Hmm?
let's say, I believe this was the client server tagging, right? That's why you are seeing those
Yeah,
tags.
yeah.
Are you using the Adobe Launch to send this variables tags, or it's a simple JavaScript implementation method, like
Yeah, it's a tag manager implementation.
launch?
Yeah.
Right. So let's say someone uses a GTM to send the
Hmm.
Adobe Analytics call.
Hmm.
So how do they can verify how the tags can be verified and by what methodology?
Yeah. See, when you use a different tag manager, the tag manager changes, but at the end, you will send the data to Adobe Analytics itself, right?
Hmm.
So when you are sending that, all the data will, however we are debugging through the Omnibug or through the network tag, everything will remain the same. Tag manager is just for managing all the tags. The purpose of tag manager is to have all tags fire from one place rather than having everything embedded on the website and then managing each tag directly.
Okay, so by searching double S, we can find all those tags, right?
BSS, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And second thing is that like if something is implemented through the server side tagging, then how to
Hmm.
debug the code, like whether this particular site has implemented Adobe Analytics or not.
Yeah, so I'll cover that. We'll cover the API parts. So in that, we'll take
But
it.
that is not possible through the browser, right?
Right, it's not browser specific.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
we can't identify that whether the site has Adobe Analytics tags or not, right? By
right.
okay,
Server side tagging, yeah. You can't look at directly.
Thank
Because
you.
that approach is through APIs, so you have to look in the analytics itself. I'll tell you about APIs, like what APIs are fired, but that data will go into Adobe and then you need to verify.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so continuing our discussion, unique visitors is clear. How is unique visitor counted? So I say, as I said, it's through s underscore ECID cookie. In some s underscore ECID is the cookie name which internally gets set into AMCV cookie. Okay, so it's one and the same, s underscore ECID or AMCV. Everything is same. So this is just the technical name. Then, if for some reason our ID cookie is not being able to set on a browser, then Adobe also sets a fallback ID cookie. Uh, okay, so it's very rare that if your ECID, there are some limitations on your website and you can't set ECID, then you have to set another fallback ID cookie. But again, everything is like Adobe based only, so you can follow any approach. But I have not seen anyone going through the fallback ID approach. It's always the ECID. There is no such limitation that we can't set it. If we can't set it, then I would say come up with your own logic, because the same thing will follow for fallback ID also. If they are not allowing for ECID, why will they allow for another Adobe cookie itself? And then, if nothing works, Adobe also captures IP address of every visitor. Okay, so every time you're coming on the site, your IP address is getting captured, but your unique visitors count is not based on IP address. Okay, that's based on ECID by default. So IP address now, this is something that is subjective, because some people don't consider IP address to be personal information. So they mask it. Later on, when we'll discuss about abort rules and IP addressing, I'll tell you like how to mask IP address. But if your company considers IP address to be personal information, then you won't get that information directly. And to see this value in report, also you need to create something called as processing rules, which also we'll discuss later on. And then you can see all the IP addresses in report and also see the number of times it was seen. So if you want, take the count of the total IP addresses from there by saving this value and seeing this in report. Otherwise, by default, go with this approach. Then behavior that affects unique visitor count. Now, if you are clearing your cookies, it would be changed. If you are using a different browser, it will change. If you are browsing your site on different devices, it will change. If you go on mobile and desktop, it's different. And you can use cross-device analytics, which is concept in Adobe Audience Manager, or people like how to combine data from different devices by using some other identifiers other than ECID. Then if you are using incognito also, it changes. So these are the different reasons why a same person is being counted as a different unique visitor. Okay, and as long as the cookie is preserved, even if you are upgrading your browser, because Google Chrome keeps on giving that option that upgrade your browser, they keep on updating their version. So in most of the cases, they don't clear our cookies still remain intact. So in that case also, we'll continue to be identified as the same visitor. And even if we are closing the browser for some time within that 2-year period, we don't return to the website. If it's more than 2 years, then it will change. If it's within the 2-year limit, it won't change.